Your house is worth whatever it's worth, right? Whoever sells it. Wrong. I'm Charlie. Welcome to Moving Home with Charlie, and thank you for coming.
Charlie Landing grew up in Sussex, is the founder of Best Agent and presenter of Moving Home with Charlie.
If you want to find one of these guys, look out for those compassionate professionals. All estate agents are not the same.
So, Charlie, what would be your advice for people interested in buying new builds right now?
Don't overpay. Do buy, but don't overpay. That's why I say disregard the guff. Read into the numbers and look, and it's buried. The bad news is buried in the small print, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Property Press Awards.
They may or may not be telling the truth, but you should form your own view. Get out and view, get out and view, get out and view. You cannot be in a position to make offers and have the offers accepted if you're not viewing. Just be out there viewing. Pay attention to the back of the class. If you've not been watching my videos, I did one just a couple of days ago. Disregard the guff. Bonsoir tout le monde. Good evening. I am chez moi, at home with Alex.
Good evening, Johnny.
There he is. There's the other. There's the AI hand, the actual intelligence holding wine. Holding wine. Welcome especially to. Hang on. No slurping required. Welcome especially to new followers and those of you who don't know who Alex Groundwater is. Alex and I first met at boarding school when we were 9 or 10 years old.
A long time ago.
40-something years ago. So we've known each other a very, very long time. And when I first started this channel, I started making all kinds of outlandish claims. And Alex came out of the woodwork. I was like, nah, because Alex likes to verify people's data. He's a fact checker. Not in the true sense of the word.
Yes, not in the, I don't post community comments.
No. And viewers of this channel have affectionately anointed him housing Stig.
That was so long ago now.
I know. You're quite comfortable with it, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah.
That's good.
And we have a sad announcement this evening, which is this evening after this show at 9:30 is the last ever episode of the Charlie and Stig show for the Private Members Club. And we'll explain why when we're doing that. And if there's anyone who would like to join that, I have also invited all the members of the Private Movers Q&A Club to this evening as a special extra sort of send off. If you'd like to join us there later, if during the course of this evening you think, actually, these guys sound quite worth listening to, and I need to join Charlie's club to answer questions about my move.
But we ought to warn everyone, it gets a lot more sweary at 9:30.
It's very, very sweary in that one, yes. Much more sweary. It's no holds barred. And the link for that is...
Not no holds barred, but no holes barred is what you said.
You hear what you want to hear. You hear what you want to hear. We try to moderate the language on these public live streams, but the occasional swear word does slip in. So if you're new here and you are offended by swearing, you probably shouldn't watch. But if you enjoy it, like most of you do, because I actually did a survey. I did a survey to find out if people were offended or not by swearing, and it was massively in favor of swearing.
Oh, good.
Not just because of the coarseness and the profanity, much as we love that.
Yeah.
But more because they said it's what makes this channel feel more real.
Because we're swearing.
Because we're swearing.
Oh, well,
because when people don't swear, why do you're suspicious of people who don't swear, aren't you?
I am. I'm also suspicious of people that don't drink, and yet there seems to be more and more of them.
Can you all hear us okay? Because I didn't bring my normal microphone. So can you all hear me and his stigginess okay? Let me know if not. Patricia wants to know if we're drinking Bordeaux or not. What is it?
No, we're on Malbec. We're on Argentinian Malbec.
We have just had dinner in the pub with some wine and stuff. Anyway, hi Paddy, hi Pam, hi Argy Bargy, Patricia, Leo, Popolop. Hi Popolop, haven't seen you for a while. Samantha, Prasanna, Ganesan, Zach Choudhury, Modi, Ricky, Carlos, the Kooky Co,
Trish, Patricia, everyone's
change is coming. Mike Dennington says the worst word I use is bugger.
Yes,
That's very Hugh Grant from 4 Weddings and a Funeral, isn't it?
but when I explained bugger to my Polish partner, she said, "You can't say that. No, you must never say that. That's disgusting.
You don't say, you just do.
You just do it, exactly."
No, sorry.
I think we shouldn't have had
We
the
should-
Malbec
we should-
with the steak. Oh dear.
Right. The Brock says Rachel Reeves equals triggers Tourette's. Yes.
Yes, she certainly does.
David Johnson says you should allow us to pay a one-off fee to join tonight. We're happy to pay a one-off for that. Well, just join the club for 1 month then. Use the link and join the club for 1 month. That's the way you could do that, because you can cancel anytime. Evening, Perry. Right, should we actually get on and talk about some stuff?
What stuff do you want to talk
Well,
about?
over dinner, you made, and caution, I'm about to swear. I'm about to use the F word because I'm quoting Alex, right? You were explaining why we are not double but triple fucked.
Yeah. But
So to start again from scratch, why? And by that you mean the UK, the economy.
yes,
Yes.
And not just the UK. I mean, by extension, a whole bunch of the first world countries are in the same boat. And it was what I tried to explain, 2 years ago?
Right.
Is it really 2
Yes,
years
it is,
ago?
yeah.
Yeah, 2 years ago. But I probably never reached the end of it because there are too many moving parts.
Just give the headlines. What are the three headlines?
So we stumbled. If you go back to the early 1990s, there was a very low level of both public and private debt. Over the Labour period from 97 onwards, with the relaxing of the FSA, or the FSA rather than the Bank of England regulating products, we were allowed to get into massive private debt. And then the Tories came along and they did much the same thing for public debt with the quantitative easing. Yes, started under Labour, but continued. And they compounded that with zero interest rates. So what we end up with is we're now in a situation where we have vast amounts of both public and private debt. Public debt's running about 100% of GDP. Non-financial institutions, private debt is probably about 220 last time I looked. So it's a lot of debt.
220?
220% of GDP.
220% of GDP?
I think so. That's the
So
number.
more than double the public debt.
Yeah. Well, there's more of us than them, only just when you consider how many they employ. But anyway, ignoring all of that. And so people have been suggesting recently, you had a thing, and I apologize that I am not read up on this because I've been busy. But I did notice on the way over that there were people discussing deflation and how it's no bad thing. And we need to be very careful with this. If you are having deflation because you have technological advances which allows more efficient production of products, which drives down the price. For instance, flat screen televisions. I'm sure you remember when a plasma was half the average salary in the UK. And now you can pick up a 65-inch LED for next to nothing. That's a good thing. That sort of deflation, that's good. But the last time we had any sort of major deflation in this country was after the financial crisis. And it was wage deflation. And that lasted for about 5 years. Now, I don't know anyone who would say, yeah, I felt so much better from 2008 to 2013. I was much richer and I felt wonderful over that time period. You probably didn't, because in real terms, your wages fell for the whole of that period. And nominally, they fell for at least a couple of years. I remember contractors at work where in 2009, the answer was, yes, you can keep working with us. We'll renew your contract, but at 20% less than you were earning last year. And this was common. And what people...
That's more than just real deflation. That's proper actual.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was the contract market. But what you've got to understand is that it is very rare. And you can look at Japan, you can look at the Great Depression in America, you can look after the Second World War, you can look at so many deflationary events in the world. It is very rare that it's not accompanied by real wage decreases and much higher unemployment. Ordinarily, through any deflationary period, unemployment doubles at least, sometimes triples. Now, the Great Depression was the worst. Unemployment in America went from 3% to 33%.
Say that again.
Unemployment in America went from 3% to 33%
During the
Great Depression.
right.
Now, during the financial crisis in the UK, unemployment went from 5% to 12.5%. Now, we only had a very small, what the economists would say was deflationary period. I think it was only one quarter where they said, "Oh, we're actually negative. We're actually, you know, we're not evens, we're not inflation. We are actually negative. It's deflation." But the effects lasted for much, much longer. We didn't hit peak unemployment until 2011. And this is the problem, is that when deflation starts and prices or the power of your money increases, people put off purchases because they'll be cheaper in the future. And so your consumer spending stops, but the companies are making less money. So they start reducing wages, which is where you get the wage reductions. Then if wages are sticky and people refuse to have their wages, you know, my job is too important and I am worth this money, they lay people off and say, right, we want more productivity. We're cost cutting, more productivity from the people who are left. And it's a horrible spiral to try and escape from. And the issue is this: do you know the one thing that doesn't go down in a deflationary cycle? Your debts. Because your debt in real terms is actually worth more than it was before, because you're using more real money to pay off your debt. So whereas inflation, you'll see mortgage brokers all the time going, well, of course, if you take a 40-year mortgage in 40 years' time, and you'll be paying peanuts because of inflation, in reality, you'll all be earning £1 million a year with the inflation. And so your £3,000 a month mortgage payment will be nothing. Yeah, try doing that with deflation. Look at Japan, where their salaries have hardly changed in over 30 years.
Right.
Deflation on a wide scale, rather than technology advanced product base, is a frightening monster.
Okay. So to the people who are going, hey, deflation is a good thing, they're unaware that it's unknown unknowns about how bad deflation is what you're saying, right? Okay, now listen, guys, there are two topics that we're going to cover. I'm going to just talk again about the ONS and their house price growth misinformation, misstatement. It's so important. I want to spread it far and wide, and I can't believe there aren't more people stamping their feet and jumping up and down about it. So the ONS, because actually, the one thing that was notable from today's ONS data, comparing apples with apples, was that November's prices were £2,000 lower than October's prices.
Yep.
Nationally with the UK, but when you look at England and Wales, it was actually £3,000 lower.
Yep.
So you've got a roughly 1% drop in 1 month for England and Wales, according to the ONS, on house prices. Not one single publication mentioned it.
Of course not.
The ONS didn't mention it. They didn't even quote the month on month. I just remembered last month was 292, this month was 290, right? So I looked at England and Wales, and it was 309,000 last month, 306,000 this month. And Wales was 222,000 last month, 219,000 this month.
Yeah.
Just call me Dustin Hoffman with my numbers.
He's a great man.
So literally, yes, Jay says Office for Nonsensical Statistics. Not a single news outlet that I saw mentioned the fact that house prices, according to the ONS, fell between October and November because the ONS didn't mention it. And if the ONS doesn't mention it in the press release, then journalists are like, well, I can't say it because they didn't say it. But they did.
Yes.
Just look at last month. You can see it go. Any journalist with this look could go, that's interesting. Last month said this much. This month said this much. So actually, house prices are falling. Not one single journalist. I tagged a bunch of journalists today.
Yeah, and said, have a look at this. And they went,
maybe they have. And if anyone has mentioned it in there, then apologies. If yes, Jason Bourne, I have. By the way, who calls himself Jason Bourne? He's one of my favorite film characters. So ONS, we're going to talk about the Hamptons. Interesting. I've not seen that study done before. That Hamptons, the 10-year
I was just looking
change in profit between people, the average profit people make when they sell their first or the second property to move on to the next one. Come on to that in a second. First and foremost, I would like to answer the following question, because right now, my instinct is this is probably the most asked question for people who are in the process of moving house at the moment,
Okay.
which is, should I still be moving? Should I still be buying? Should we still be upsizing?
Only you can make that call. It depends on so many
So
things.
well, this is why I want to answer it, because there are people for whom the answer is definitely no.
Yeah.
Definitely back out. Definitely don't
No,
buy.
but Charlie, I'm aspiring. I found this £1.5 million house. It's fantastic.
Well, and there are people who I would say definitely buy.
Yeah.
Given your circumstances, your reasons for buying, your plans, I would definitely buy.
But don't overpay.
Correct. But this is, I mean, and the reason that it's going to be interesting to go through that Hamptons data is because of it's starting to show how much things have changed in the last 2 years. So 2 years ago, when we were saying, watch out, because the runaway house price profits that we've all been used to have stopped and are unlikely to come back anytime soon, we're now starting to see plenty of evidence of that at a national level.
Yep.
In fact, in real terms, house prices haven't gone up in the last 2 years.
No.
They're definitely down.
Well, they're down.
significantly.
They're down 8 to 10%.
So, let me summarize it thus. For those of you who are wondering whether or not you should be proceeding with your move, I'll give you an example of someone who's been contacting me about it. We've got 2 babies arriving in June. We're currently in rented. We found a house that's within our budget in an area that we love with nice schools, where it's our forever home as far as we're concerned. It's a new build. It's 5 bed. I feel like I'm overpaying, but it's 20% of my gross salary. My mortgage payment is 20%. It's 31% of my net salary.
Yeah. All of those numbers stack. All of that is fine.
But you know, we're secure. We're not planning to move anywhere else.
Duration
Our family's
of
grown.
mortgage?
Can't remember. But I'm like, no, your reasons for moving are not to make money on the next property.
So how's your two children?
Your reasons for moving are to have a house big enough to accommodate your growing family in an area that you want to live because it's close to your work and has good schools. In that situation, I would be saying absolutely continue with your move, because whatever's happening in the economy, we all need to get on with our lives. Right? Families don't stop because the economy is bad.
No, absolutely.
Families continue. Children will still be born. Right?
Even if you get made redundant, families think you can't put them in
people are
cupboard.
born and people die and everything else, right? So, but to those of you for whom financial gain has been a consideration or a factor in your decision to buy, you need to ask yourself whether or not you would still wish to buy the home you're going to live in, even if it's not going to make you any money. And if the answer is, I still want to live there, then great.
Go for it.
If the answer is, if it's not making me money, I'm not sure I want to do it, run away.
No, if the answer is, if it's not making me money, I'm not sure that long term I can afford it. So what I mean is, there are a lot of people who go,
well, that's
all right,
that's
that's
another category. That's so I'm not talking about. Let's just say that I'm a hopeless doom monger and that nothing's going to go badly wrong and the economy's going to be fine and Keir Starmer's going to deliver us as the world's leading AI country and the economy is going to just take off and there are going to be no house price falls, right?
Oh, God.
So in other words, assuming, let's just say, a flatlining economy, no big falls, no big crises, just carrying on as it has been. The Hampton stuff we're going to discuss and other stuff is going to show that there really aren't significant profits to be made from property, just from house price growth anymore, right? So if house price growth is a factor because you thought this makes sense because not only will I have a home, but also it's an investment, that I would advise you. You cannot see your home as a financial investment. Oh, but Charlie, my mortgage payment is going to be less than my rent. Okay, that on its own is a separate standalone thing. And you're excluding the fact that your home you own is going to have maintenance costs that the home that you rent doesn't. Roughly speaking, rule of thumb, budget 1% a year as maintenance. On average, over time, 1% a year of the property's value for maintenance. That's just a rough. There are brand new builds. It won't be that much. Older houses will be a lot
I'm
more.
just doing the maths on my parents' house, which they've owned for 40 odd years. And you know what? As you went through, if you took the average price, you're not far wrong. By the time you've redone the drive and you put conservatory on, you had to redo the kitchen over that length of time twice, and bathrooms have been redone. Yes, they've done the roof and chimneys and front dormer windows. They cost a bloody fortune, and then painting the outside. Yeah, you're not far wrong, actually.
So what everyone's got to understand is that the rampant house price growth of the last 40 years was almost all as a result of government stimulus of some kind or another. And without that government stimulus, whether it was Myris,
and wage increases, they've stopped.
Yes,
this is the thing.
We'll come on to that. But my point is, yes, your parents and your grandparents might tell you, you can't go wrong with house prices. Look at what we did.
Yeah,
the world has changed.
Yeah, that's correct.
And those circumstances no longer exist. Does that mean you shouldn't buy a home? No, it doesn't mean you shouldn't buy a home. If you want to need the home that you own to live in.
But also save some money, whether it's in a pension, in an investment fund, in something. Find a way to save money, because your home is not necessarily going to pay for your care when you are old.
Homes are no longer investments. They're no longer going to be a pension. Now, hey, if I'm wrong and they make money, brilliant, awesome, fantastic, well done, right? But the number one change I would make amongst the general population's mindset about buying homes now is that it is a financially good idea. It's no longer as financially good an idea as it was. But yes, buying a home where after 25 or 30 years you own it outright is a sensible thing to do.
Yes.
Not because it makes you money.
No.
Because you end up with a home that you own.
Yes, 100%.
So people confuse it when they hear me saying it's not a financial investment. Oh, but Charlie, where are they going to live with it? I'm not saying go buy.
Wouldn't you like to live somewhere where the only bills you have to pay are the utility bills and some maintenance? But if you're really old, you could just let it get decrepit. You do not want to be. The worst situation is to find yourself at the age of 70 paying rent on a property.
Unless at the age of 70,
you got
your
shed loads of
investment.
cash.
No, your investment you are getting from your dividends.
Yes,
enough to pay your rent.
Yeah, but there aren't many. And well, we're in an unusual
That's
situation.
what people should be. I think that is the way that today's first-time buyers should be thinking.
You're talking about very lucky people. If you go through your entire life earning somewhere between £20,000 and £40,000 a year, there is no physical way with the cost of living that you can save enough to create that sort of an income when you're old. The only people who can do that are people earning in excess of £150,000 a year for at least 20 to 25 years of their career, or are just enormously lucky and they bought 10 grand's worth of Nvidia and 10 grand's worth of Apple, and they're sitting there going, man, I'm fucking made. But you've got to be either lucky or not an average earner.
Well, it reminds me of a quote I once read, and I think it was either Henry Ford or Rockefeller or one of those big American industrialists that became.
The harder I work, the luckier I get.
No, it was buy stocks like you buy groceries.
Yeah, just regularly and in small amounts. Yeah, just keep buying them. Yeah,
buy and forget. Buy and forget.
Although we are not recommending buying stocks and shares at this precise moment in time. Yes, there are lots of people in the US who think that the markets are going to continue to increase. There are others that think they're massively overinflated. Let's face it, the FTSE has not been a wonderful performer other than dividends for a very long time. It's only about 1,400 points above where it was in 1999, for Christ's sake. Even the 250 is not great in this country, but others will argue, well, but the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ, God, I could have done this. Yeah, wonderful. But right now, certainly I am not. I don't think Charlie is saying, yeah, put all your money into stocks and shares at the moment. That'll be fantastic.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that I love the idea of buying stocks like groceries. It's small amounts, but in a habit. You just over time keep buying. Anyway, so if you need a home and you can afford a home, you want to buy a home. Don't overpay. Now, that brings me on to the next point about this. I have just today been talking to somebody. Hello, Billy, on Twitch. Anyone watching on Twitch, by the way, gets a special hello because there's like one or two of you. Yeah, we're 2 people watching it on Twitch. Someone said, I'm about to buy a house. I've agreed the deal with it's a new build. My gut feel is that I'm overpaying. I can afford it.
Yeah.
I'm planning to stay, but my gut feel is I'm still overpaying by a significant amount. It was about nearly 10%.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Well,
I mean, that's the premium. That's their profit margin. When you buy retail off the shelf, you're paying that. Now, he's saying, like, my gut feel is that I can still afford it. We love the house, want to live there. Should I do it anyway? Should I renegotiate? Now, I cannot advise either way.
No.
It's a personal choice, because if you want it and you can afford it and you're paying top retail price, and the moment you buy it, it's going to lose 10% of its value because it's off the shelf now, but you're staying there for the rest of your life,
what does it matter? Exactly.
Right. Having said that, it's still a significant, it is a mortgage, right? And it's a significant amount of money he's borrowing to buy it. This is a lot. It's a larger 5-bed house. You know, it was beginning with an 8, the price.
Yeah.
If it was, everyone is not me. I am not everybody. But in the situation that's described, this is what I would do. And it's what I always do in this situation, in not just with property, but anything like this. I always go, if that one wasn't available to buy,
would there
which
be another
one? What's the other one I would buy?
Yeah.
Right? I would literally, that's exactly what I do. If that one didn't exist, if they hadn't built that one, or if someone else had bought that one.
Is this why you were so successful in nightclubs?
I don't.
Sorry, Charlie.
That's. Oh, you kind of
Well,
knocked me off.
If this one didn't work, what's the other one? I'm going to give you more wine. I'm sure it's good for you.
Let me finish, because this is what I would do. But you know, luck. They say luck favors the bold and the prepared.
Yep.
This approach, in my mind, is for me, only for me, and I'm not advising anyone else to do it. I'm just letting you know what I would do in that situation. Is I would literally say to myself, all right, I can imagine that they've sold it to someone else, or it doesn't exist, or for any reason, that property that I'm about to buy and to pay 10% too much for is no longer available. What would I buy? I'd go and look for another one. One of 3 things will happen. Either the other one that you find is going to be even better, even nicer. You know, why was I even thinking about buying that one? This is a much better property anyway, right? Mm-hmm. Just because you've looked. Or you're going to go, yeah, I'd buy this one.
Yep.
And you make an offer, and you say, look, I'm considering buying this new build over here, but I'm not sure about it. This is what I'd offer for yours.
Yep.
Right?
Are you happy?
Yeah. At which point you can turn around to the other guys and go, I've had an offer of this accepted over there.
If you want,
if you want to match it,
exactly,
I'll buy that one. But if you don't, I'll buy this one. It's a win-win. You can't lose in that scenario.
No, agreed.
All you have to do is find the nightclubs. All you have to do.
I've been there the whole way through. I'm seeing you going, well, I've got the champagne for this one, but for that one.
Remind me to tell you the Wrigley's chewing gum story about a friend of mine. And I will later, maybe. But that's what I do, right? Because that is a good faith, above board. You're not lying to anyone, but you are the buyer. You are the valuable thing coming
back on the developer.
You are controlling it and going, I'm not going to overpay. And the only way to be certain I'm not going to overpay is to make sure that 2 sellers know that I'm only going to buy one of these 2 properties.
Yep. That's totally fair. I mean, that is absolutely fair.
So exactly, it is fair. It's like
no one has lost anything.
This is how
at
the
this
market
point.
works.
You just made 2 offers.
Yeah,
what's the problem?
So you've got that offer over there, and you've got the one over there. Then you know, and what will happen is either the new build developer will go, okay, fine, we'll drop it, we'll take it, we'll sell it, because they don't want to lose you as a buyer, or they won't. In which case, you buy the other property.
You see, it is remarkably American, though.
No.
Yes,
I'm not American.
When you're dating more than one person at the same time.
That's not American either.
Yeah, it is.
No.
Yeah, the Yanks do the whole dating.
Let's talk about this later.
I've got a smile back.
Okay, so that is not my advice. I'm not advising anyone else to do that. I'm just telling you that's what I would do. Because when you do have a second option of a property that you would buy, you are in a much stronger negotiating position. I hope that's helpful. Alex is keeping one eye on the comments. I'm not.
Yeah, there's been a big Barney going on. I'm sort of going to ignore that.
Well, let me just let's just stick to our own thing first, and then we'll
cool.
come on. Hamptons.
Hamptons was next.
So this is really interesting. Hamptons today published a story, and I will put the link to
Stick
this.
it up on, you can't put it on screen.
I can
Well,
put it on
graphs,
screen.
you know,
I can put it in the live chat. So there's the link to it in the live chat, and I can now show that on screen. So there's the link to it. All right, if you just Google that, you'll find it, right? Hamptons did this strange study where they've basically gone and they've looked at everyone that's selling a property now, what did they pay for it and when? And they're measuring the profit over time. And they're doing it for the whole country. And I think they're using 20 EA's data set, I'm not sure.
Well, surely land registry.
It's a combination. It says Hamptons and Land Registry, yeah. And what they've discovered, which completely blows out of the water this, house prices double every 10 years.
Yeah.
That is patent bollocks.
Yes.
Right? House prices do not. And bollocks is not a swear word, so don't anyone complain about it, right?
I think you're playing testicles. It's not a swear word. Bollocks definitely.
It's not a swear word.
Yeah.
It's not cursing.
It is.
It's coarse language.
Oh, I see. We're going to make this distinction. You're arguing semantics.
There is
Charlie.
a scale. There is a scale of offensiveness.
So there's prurient, there's coarse, profane, if God's involved.
Yes. And I can, again, just got some numbers off the top of my head here, right? So in the 10 years up to 2022,
yep,
it was 69% was the average change in price, not value, price of the house. So everyone that sold in 2022, on average, across the whole country, they sold for 69% more than they paid. And I think the average is 8 or 9 years, but they're working a 10-year moving, right? 69%. Now, fast forward to 2024, and that 10-year profit has changed from 69% to 43% from memory, I think it is.
Oh, got it here.
44%.
40, yeah, 40, it doesn't actually say it, but it's about 43%, by the way. 42%.
Okay. So that is a very, very large drop in 2 years in proportional terms. So you were making a 69%.
Sorry, it was 54% in 22. It's 54 down to 42.
No, you got that wrong.
Just it's the graph right here.
No, they've actually
There's a graph. Wait a minute. Average seller gross profit, 2022, 54%.
Okay. Anyway, look. The point is,
it's a 12% drop in 2 years.
It's a significant drop. Now, again, that is before you take into account inflation.
Yeah.
Right. And I looked it up. So the inflation for 10 years to 24 is 35%, whereas the inflation for the 10 years to 2022 is 23%.
Yes.
Okay. So taking that into account. So in other words, taking into account inflation, and your 10-year real gain is 28 or 29%.
About that, yeah.
That's less than 3% a year. That's pretty shit. That's not including your 1% a year maintenance costs.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? Or your mortgage interest, or any of the other things so even.
Well, this is the thing. They're saying their gross profit. They don't know what the profit is because they have no idea what the financing was behind that.
No.
They have no idea whether people took out additional mortgage at that time or overpaid their mortgage
or updated the property.
Exactly. There is, and that, accounts for quite a lot of the increase is the money spent on conservatories, extensions, loft conversions, and so on and so forth.
Right. So the point, again, this just backs up what we were saying, which is that ever decreasing returns, like buying homes. I'm not saying that
it's
you
a bit
would.
like GDP.
Yes.
It's everything in this. We are grinding to a halt.
Yeah.
Our GDP on average per capita increased 2.4% every year from 1970 through until 2000. From 2000 to 2019, it increased on average 1% per capita for each year. From 2019 onwards, it increased on average 0.7%, 2.4, 1, 0.7. Everything about this country, from wages
So it's half
to
and half together, pretty much.
GDP to house price, real house price, it's all falling off a cliff because, and I don't want to say this, and I hope I'm wrong, but unless we have some serious change in this country, we is dying. We're like the
We're going to
geriatrics.
turbocharge the country with AI.
Yeah. Well, is it going to push the wheelchairs of all the geriatrics? Because we are.
No, but it's going to fix the potholes. Actually, no. They've actually said that. If evidence were needed of the rank stupidity of government, the AI is going to help fix the pothole problem.
I give up with these people.
It's unbelievable. Right, so that's the Hamptons thing. What was the other thing? Was the ONS. So guys, we've actually touched on it. The ONS has said house prices dropped in October to November. No one else reported it. And if you want the numbers, here they are. I'll put that in the live chat. So I think that's in the description below. But here you are in the live chat. The ONS, that's the ONS facts from today. And we had inflation going up today. So owner-occupier inflation, wow. This is. I'll put this up on the screen because it's just. No, it's house price index. Yeah, here we go. Let's share this. Just a quick minute on inflation, and then we're going to get into all the comments and questions that you guys are. So, you can see it, can't you? The screen there.
I can, yes.
So here we are. So see that? Can everyone see that? Is that on the screen? That graph? Yes, it is. Right. So that black line is going up and up. But it's underneath, it's the bottom, but it goes up and it crosses over and it's going up and up.
I can't see that.
It's just a delay.
Okay.
Up and up and up, up. 7.4% 2 months ago, 7.8% November, 8% in December.
Yeah.
8% owner-occupier housing costs and still rising.
Yep.
Okay, so there's inflation as a country and there's inflation as an individual.
Yep.
And inflation as an individual is way higher than 3.5%.
Well, how scary is it that things like services, etc., are coming down? And when we say services, a lot of people provide services because we are now a service country. We're not a manufacturing country. But inflation coming way down on those, which, as you know, means that people will end up being paid less as the services are generating less profit. But at the same time, their cost of living, their owner-occupier housing costs are still going through the roof. Wonderful. As we take away from you with this hand, we're just going to pile some more weight on with that hand. I mean, let's see how poor we can make everyone.
So lots of conversations about stock market, which me personally, I'm just going to choose my language carefully because I'll upset everybody. I've always found it, in fact, it has served me well to pick stocks but make long-term, basically like Warren Buffett. I mean,
You're very like Warren.
I made some picks that I didn't put my money where my mouth was in the early 2000s.
Yeah, and now you're regretting that.
I worked it out. I remember. I can actually remember the exact moment. I was like, I should buy that and that. I should buy. And if I had done 1,000 of each of those, if I put £2,000 in the early 2000s, I would have £6 million now.
I have a very similar story. I actually tried. I figured that perhaps shares, given that there was no logic to it in terms of you can analyze a company's finances, but actually it's more about confidence and belief than it is about the underlying metrics, it appears, if you try and mathematically model shares. So I tried that, and I bought a whole bunch of shares after the first crash in 2008. Now, you'll remember the share prices continued to come down substantially in 2009. And I bought quite a large, It was a reasonable investment. And I bought Taylor Wimpey shares, for instance. Now, I bought them what I thought was an absolute bargain looking at the value of the company. I bought them at 22 pence. 22 pence. Now, what are they worth today? They are currently worth over £1, but let me just have a look.
Right, I'm going to start going through some stuff here. You gave me Taylor Wimpey was my Bramble type stock pick.
Oh, okay. So so they're over £1. I bought those and they went to 12 pence. And I tightened my sphincters, all of them, and I just held on for dear life until 2010. And then, like the scaredy cat I was, I sold the whole lot. I sold all the portfolio. I had about 20 shares in there, quite a large investment. I sold the whole lot. If I had kept it, and actually today it's not as valuable as it was a few years back, but if I had kept it and sold it at its peak, 10 million quid. Thank you very much. Ooh. But no, it scared the crap out of me. I've decided I'm not a big gamble money trader.
It's like the time. This is the point. You can't time it.
I was looking at this stuff every day. Every day.
Yeah. We all start there. There's lots of comments here. Right. Lots of comments. Alex Browning, I'm going to disagree with you seriously on something in a minute. Let's get into some questions. Hang on. By the way, I didn't say I wouldn't buy shares at the moment. That was Alex.
I said we wouldn't say to people, go and buy shares. If you want to, go do it. But I'm not confident enough in anything to buy at the moment.
Because you just think everything's a bit tippy-toppy.
Yeah. I mean, gold's up at its peak.
Yeah.
Shit, I mean, look at the S&P 500. Bitcoin, although it's come down quite a long way, is still at £80,000.
Yeah.
You know, all of these things, buying now, you just go, whoa.
I think that, there are, for me, with a background as a broker of derivatives and options and all that kind of stuff, you either take very long-term positions and hold them, long or short, right? Or you're a day trader, in and out, chop, trading the news, basically.
Yeah.
Anything in the middle, you're gonna get fucked.
Yes.
You just can't do it.
Although
right?
I did come out up.
That's just my view. Anyway.
I did make 50 grand.
No, okay. No. I remember when. Yeah, it's a long story. Right. Let's just have a quick. Kins98 on Twitch says, "Why is Charles in the shag pad?" Shh, don't tell Alex. Don't tell Alex. I'm plying him with red wine.
God. Actually, I'm not pouring you anymore. Back away.
Okay. Let's take some questions that I pinned. Jason Bourne. I have to answer your question because Jason Bourne's one of my favorite film characters. Have you seen Gary's economics where he predicts that housing prices will continue to rise as all other assets? What do you think about Gary's prediction? Yes, I have seen it. I saw a recent video of his as well where I was actually quite happy to hear him concede that although he said, I'm looking at my predictions I made last January, when I said all assets and house prices were going to go up. And he said, all the assets have gone up except for house prices. And he sort of went, and he was like, you can see him just going, I can't quite figure out why the house prices didn't go up.
There aren't enough rich people.
It's not just that. It's that it's very difficult to. Gary has a different perspective on life, on the markets, on investments, on rich and poor, and on politics than I do. And from where he's standing, he thinks that rich people just buy property.
No.
And intelligent asset investors look at property and go, I mean, if you could buy a brand new block to build to rent, whatever, and you've worked out the numbers and there's very, very low risk, maintenance risk, then fine. But otherwise, rich people don't buy property for fun because it isn't fun. It's fucking hard work. It's a pain in the arse. You've got voids and you've got maintenance and you've got EPCs and you've got tenants and you've got
and they can't just even buy farmland anymore.
The kind of rich that Gary talks about are the people sitting on the back of their boats with a trading app on their phone, buying and selling everything in the world except property. Yep. Why? Because when you want to sell it, you can't. No. If you want to sell property quickly, you're going to take a 10 to 20% loss.
It is
on
not
its
a
full market
liquid
value.
asset.
It is not. And therefore
Unlike
the
this
rich,
bottle of wine.
like the number of people who go, Lewis says, oh, the rich are going to pile into property. No,
No,
they're
not a
not.
chance.
Because the rich aren't that stupid.
Oh, but although they may pile into property when a bottom is reached,
Okay, fine.
if the government is a bit nicer with the landlord tax rules.
Yes,
But
exactly.
otherwise,
Yeah.
not even then.
No, exactly. So I don't disagree with Gary on anything except for two things. Number one, house prices. And in the first year of making that prediction, it hasn't come true. And I said it wouldn't. For the reasons I've just said, right? It is not a liquid investment, and it's a very high maintenance investment, number one.
Yep.
The second thing I disagree with him on is his phrase is just income inequality, the wealth inequality is going so big that the only solution is to tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. He doesn't mean the middle classes, he means
proper rich.
very, very rich people. I don't agree with him that that's the right way to solve the problem.
Well, it's problematic. Because it's never worked previously.
No,
wealth taxes.
He doesn't understand the psychology of the
people. He understands the way the numbers.
He understands the markets.
Yeah.
He's an amazing trader. He's very intelligent, very smart guy. And there are certain things he's got, but he's got blind spots in his analysis that I would love to discuss with him one day, because I share his goal of eradicating excessive inequality, because it's bad for the whole country.
And it's just getting worse.
Right? I share, but what I don't agree with him is on how you go about doing that. Gary, to my knowledge, Gary's never run a business. And if you've never run a business,
you don't know what it's
don't
like making payroll each month and actually selling
don't understand
products.
about how to balance books and stuff. And there we go.
Yeah.
Right. So that's Jason Bourne's comment. Samantha, I don't know who Samantha is. I'm going to drop my price by 10k just before exchange, because in Thanet, the market has bombed. I'm not a charity, I'm a cash buyer, and the house is not perfect, and new build is cheaper. So Samantha, you're clearly a buyer. You're stating your intention to drop it just before exchange. That's called gesundering.
Yep.
It's bad karma.
It is bad karma.
To plan to do that. Absolutely don't overpay, but tell them now. Say to them, I'm no longer happy to proceed with this purchase at the price that we've agreed.
Yeah.
My new price is this. I understand if you don't want to go ahead. And therefore, then the sellers have a choice. They've got time to make a choice and make an informed choice, right? What you're doing, which is you're intentionally leaving it to the last minute, it might work. You might hold a gun to their head and they might accept it. But karma is a bitch. And one day it will get you back for that, because that is knowingly putting someone else into a horrible situation.
Yep.
And it's just people who do that regularly, life never turns out well.
It's happened to me, and I was not a happy bunny. I did have to accept it. I had no option in the situation I was in at the time. But there was substantial hate generated for that human.
Yeah. Which obviously people who do that don't care at the time, because it's like dog eat dog, kill or be killed.
Oh, yeah. Caveat,
but
caveat
actually,
monkey.
Honestly, with 30 years in business and dealing with customers and staff and clients and suppliers and all the rest of it, I can assure you that in the long run, you're always better off just doing the fair thing.
Yes.
Just that's my recommendation. And I'm not just saying that from an ethical point of view. I'm saying that genuinely,
from your own perspective,
it will stand you in better stead in transactions if you do that.
Unless you are a sociopath, which may be true, and then you won't care.
Rich A says, I have 100k unallocated cash in my SIP.
I've got a bank account you can send it to. Been
waiting in the last 12 months for a crash to put in a fund. Are you expecting a crash soon too, then? He's talking about stocks.
Yeah.
Well, my answer to that is, I'm old enough to know that you should never expect a crash. However, I'm also old enough to recognize when conditions are perhaps ripe for a crash.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's going to happen, though.
No, the government
never know.
Although, you know what? Sad fact for you. So Bitcoin, I think, is trading at about Bitcoin about 80,000 at the moment.
80,000
pounds, yeah.
Oh, pounds.
Pounds. I work in pounds. We live in the UK, Charlie. Which, given I think there are about 20 million Bitcoin out there, means that the total value of Bitcoin is 1.6 trillion, which, given the government spending plans, would be enough to keep this country running for 1 year.
The total combined value of all Bitcoin is 1.6 trillion pounds.
Yeah.
It's not very much, is it?
And we spend about one. Well, I wanted to put it in perspective. Everyone goes on and on and on and on about Bitcoin. Do you think the UK is a really big place? Are we actually any more terribly important in the world? It would only keep this country running. All that value, all that store of money that people have got, it would keep this country running for about a year.
It's not a lot, is it? Right, next pinned question. Samantha again says, if you piss off your local estate agent, they blacklist you. Yeah, okay, so there are two responses to that. Number one is don't piss them off.
Seems very fair.
You can stand your ground, whatever it is, and do it in a way that doesn't piss people off, right? So it just, as long as you are reasonable in your explanation of your decisions and your position, you don't need to piss people off. It never works in your favor to I mean, it's all about style of communications rather than what you're, rather than actually what you're doing. But provided they don't think that you're being disingenuous, they're not going to blacklist you. If they think you're being disingenuous, and there are buyers who are, then yes.
You mean, for instance, if you goes under and then the seller doesn't accept your lower offer, the deal falls through, and you go, "Oh, I'd like to find somewhere else to purchase."
Yes, the agent might be like,
"No, why don't you bugger off?" See, I said bugger, and that's okay.
Yes.
And
some people think it's very nice.
No, well, except as a Polish man pointed out, that accent was not Polish; it was more Russian. I do it deliberate to piss off the Monica. She goes, "No, this not sound like Polish. Do you sound like bloody meerkat?" I'm like, "Yes."
Also, I worked with Russians for 10 years, so I've got that accent in my head. So mine is also probably more Russian than Polish. XL2828 says, what do you think about overpaying to increase equity and reduce mortgage costs interest? Not so much to profit, but to reduce costs. That's just a maths. That's just a number crunching thing. I think it's always good to pay off your mortgage. But the thing is, if your mortgage interest is less,
yeah, but it's not going to be any more. Back in the day when you were paying 1.8% or lower, then overpay to the max, whatever you could. Sorry, no, you know what I mean. It's the other way around. Keep the debt. Yeah. But right now, you want to pay the stuff off.
Always pay off your highest interest debt first.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
Which is your credit card, by the way.
And if you've got cash sitting in the bank, earning less than your mortgage interest is costing,
then it's a waste.
Pay off your mortgage.
Yep.
That's just straightforward maths.
No, it sounded Balkan. Hey, at least I'm in the right region.
Was that a Balkan? Okay. So there's someone here who's a new follower, and I've got to answer because their name is Fiscal Slag.
Nice. That's a great name.
So Fiscal Slag on YouTube says, based in West Sussex, Surrey border. Oh, I think I might know. No, lack of decent stock or stock priced fairly for condition, and then the pros and cons of the property itself. Fundamentally, what is motivating movers these days? The thing that motivates movers most of the time is that they need to move. And I'm not being glib. It's simply that their family is growing, or their family is shrinking, or their job has moved, or they're moving. So someone's died. It's just death, debt, divorce. Those are the three number one reasons people sell houses. But the fundamental difference these days compared to before is that there are fewer small buy-to-let investors now.
Yeah.
Right, so that's changed. And first-time buyers are being much more cautious about overpaying now than they were. So whilst there's the number of first-time buyers who want to buy somewhere is the same, they're being much more careful with what they're paying. And also because they're paying higher interest rates, it reduces your buying power anyway.
Given that we now have 30% of people aged 20 to 34 living with their parents, we must have the largest pool of potential first-time buyers that don't yet own a property that this country has ever had.
Yeah.
There's never been this many people who would like to bugger off from their parents' house and buy somewhere.
Or whose parents would like them to
bugger off. You're correct. Please go away. We'd like to have nude sex in the sitting room.
But you just can't. It's just not, Alex Browning, I'm not going to go into this now, but Tesla is not a bubble. People have been saying that about Tesla since 2018 when I bought my Tesla shares.
Sorry, are you saying, is this Alex said it was a bubble?
No, sorry, Alex Browning
Yes.
is saying Tesla is a bubble, and I'm saying it's not. But I'm not going to go into that right now. But you're wrong. Well, let's have that out. Let's have that out
Actually,
somewhere
no,
else
that's
later.
the closest we actually came to a proper argument, isn't it? I was very, very drunk.
Yes. So, right. Let me just. I'm looking for more questions now because we're running out of time. We're gonna have to wrap it up soon. Raf Scallion says, had offer accepted this week. Didn't go first and final, but thanks for your invaluable advice on the process and getting ducks in a row. Got the property for 10k below asking and offer accepted first time. Congratulations.
Yeah, well
Always
done.
hearing that story. Every time I hear those stories, it makes my day. Just looking for more questions. So anything you'd like to wrap up with? So guys, again, Alex and I will be back at 9:30, but only for members of the Private Movers Q&A Club. And it's a video conference. It's an unrecorded video conference. We just record the audio.
I'm just checking this.
So Jack Waldron says, Stig, do you think COVID shares prices will bump the economy after 5 years with work share plans?
I'm not even sure what that means.
No, neither am I actually.
That was exactly the question I was looking at. I'm not sure what you're trying to say there. What about Jason Bourne? Have either of you seen Real Vision?
No, I haven't seen that. Mike Jennington, though, this is how will AI be the answer? It's not going to be the answer to the current government's problems. In my opinion, for AI to be of benefit to the government and the country, you have to have a radical scrapping and rebuilding of the entire civil service and state structure.
Yeah,
you can't take a 1950s combustion engined car and put a computer in it and expect it to drive better, right? And resto mod, right? If you wanted to resto mod the civil service, you probably couldn't. And resto mods cost roughly 10 times the cost of a brand new car.
You've seen
and the taxpayer's not going to do that.
You saw the Jaguar one. I can't remember.
Yeah, I did the XJ12.
Fantastic.
So, and all these politicians who've never had any involvement with technology in their entire adult life, other than OnlyFans
the way that
and
they
Grindr.
Talk, it's Grindr. A lot of them have been on Grindr. But the way that they talk about machine learning shows that they have absolutely no understanding of how this works. They don't even understand context windows. There's nothing that they get.
They don't get it. They don't get it at all. And so Keir Starmer literally using words like turbocharge.
Like turbo cancer.
I mean, just even if you wanted to go, okay, let's just look at it at face value. What does that look like? To my knowledge, there are no major machine learning companies based in the UK that are on the same scale as the global machine learning.
It's a big American. No, but they are still a lot of the research is done here.
Without the data set.
You're correct. And without the money. And this is the problem. We've actually
the money,
got
the processing power, and the data sets.
Which
Alex Browning is why Tesla's going to win at AI above all else, because its data set is however many millions of cars they've got, plus the Optimus bots they've got, plus every single post in real time on X. It's massive, and more beyond that as well. So AI is not going to be the answer. The only thing AI is going to be the answer for is for companies that want to get rid of staff.
Yeah.
Right? How's that going to be good for the economy?
Well, it's not.
It's not.
And this is where we go back to all we have been doing for a long time now, decades, is widening the gap between the haves and have-nots. And AI is going to be the final nail in the coffin of that. I come from a tech background. I did 25 years of leading technology programs and projects. I love tech. I love the machine learning stuff. Yes, I am subscribed. Yes, I use machine learning quite a lot. I used it to write a report and presentation only yesterday. very useful. It still needs checking. They're still not perfect or nowhere near perfect. And not only that, it is actually, all of them are biased. I did a test. I tested ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude.
Grok is free now, by the way.
And Grok. I tested all of them. They all showed bias when it came to future energy production. And then when I challenged them, I said, no, I want you to do it holistically. Go into your data sets, check it. To begin with, every single one of them said offshore wind is the best energy source for the UK in the future, followed by onshore wind, followed by solar,
Inherent human
followed
bias.
by hydroelectric, followed by by gas, followed by nuclear, was always in 6th or 7th place every single time. So then I asked them to go back and check it all. And I included everything from the damage to the earth and climate, the CO2 from the cement required for offshore wind farms, the fatality rate per terawatt hour produced.
Okay.
And every single time they came back, each one of the AIs came back, and small modular reactors were first every single time. And I then said, but guys, we've just been through this process. I asked you, you told me it was these in this order, starting with offshore wind. Now you're telling me that it's nuclear. How have you changed your mind? And each one of them said, I'm terribly sorry. I think I've been biased. They actually used the terms. I think I have been biased by what is acceptable to society at the moment and the current narrative. I've actually got it. I took a screenshot of it on my phone. So you have to watch the machine learning tools because they are biased as fuck.
I've got a question here I would like to answer. Rix G on YouTube asks, many sellers are currently sitting trying to sell the house but not adjusting the price even after 5 months. When will the sellers understand that this instead of keeping fingers crossed?
Too late. Too late is when they'll understand.
Yeah, but I want to get back to the reasons why. I don't think it's just pure seller greed. There's a bit of innate human greed, but they've had the ONS telling them lies or inaccurate information. They've had Halifax giving them inaccurate information. They've had Rightmove giving them inaccurate information. And they've had estate agents giving them inaccurate information because they want to win business off them. Yep. So when every single place that you look tells you record house prices, you think, wow, we're being reasonable, aren't we?
Well, and also, do you know what's funny is I checked some of the stats, and certainly in central London, there are places that what they've done is, and the maths is it's so easy. They've taken when they bought it, they've gone to the Bank of England CPI inflation calculator, they've put that in and it's added, and then they've added 10%. The price is always 10% above what the CPI inflation calculator says the price should be. And it's too consistent to be random. People are just going, well, I'm only making 10%. These people who bought in 2016 or whatever, I'm only making 10%, but it's real.
So people are deciding what they want.
Yes. It's nothing to do, because how can two identical houses in the same road, one lists at 1.6 million and one lists at 1.15 million? How can there possibly be
identical
that big a
houses,
gap? Identical. Why? Because the one that bought at 1.6, who wants to sell at 1.6, bought it at 106 in 2016, the highest price ever in that road.
Added inflation
and 10%. The one that's selling for 1.15 bought 20 odd years ago when it was 350,000 and is just going, oh, I think the market is about this.
And what they're all getting wrong, to answer your question, Rich, is that what all sellers need to understand is it doesn't matter what I think, the market will decide.
If it's not selling, it's the wrong price.
Which is why when you're selling, you need to choose an agent who understands that how well you bring your house to the market will determine how many competing buyers you get and what price you can get for it, what price the market will pay for it.
Yep.
Guys, I'd love to keep going, but Alex and I did a break before we do our next one in half an hour. It's been great. I hope you guys
emotional.
It's always good fun.
I'm still thinking of you in a bar deciding which one you're picking. And you've got to
the Wrigley story.
The Wrigley's, that's what I was going to say. You've got to tell me the Wrigley story.
Okay, so this is an old friend of mine from school, and we were young and we were in London, we were in nightclubs. Do you remember there was a Wrigley's chewing gum advert where a guy on a bus and he tears it
It's
in
in
half.
half. Yeah, yeah.
So he would walk he'd walk into the club at the beginning of the night, right? Walk up to whoever he thought was
random
the
lady.
prettiest girl.
Yep.
And he'd say, hold that, and he'd tear it off, and then he'd just walk off. And then at the end of the night, if she was still there, he'd come back and do that.
Yeah. Look, it's us. We should go now.
And
Did
he
it
had a
ever
fairly
work?
Yes. And he said, I haven't spent the whole night chatting someone up who only to find out they're not interested.
It's fantastic. The least effort for the highest
Yeah,
reward.
he was a very successful businessman until the Ukrainian mafia took his steel smelting plant off him, which he built in Ukraine. This is back in the
He should have given them half a Ricky's.
Yes, he should. He should. I have some friends who do some interesting jobs. Right, guys. Thank you, Sil HSJ on X. It's been fantastic. You can find me if you need me. By the way, guys, if you don't follow me on X, that's where I post 10 times
Everything.
more stuff on X than anywhere else, because posting on X takes 3 seconds, whereas every other site, it takes forever to post stuff. So if you really want to keep up to date with my thinking and my reporting, my reacting to what's happening in the housing market and politics, the economy and everything else, follow me on X. Just look for Moving Home with Charlie on X. You'll find it. Otherwise, have a fantastic night. And to those of you who are members of the Private Movers Q&A Club,
Catch you later.
I did actually notice that a couple of people have joined during the call. I will make sure you've got the link to the finale.
I will be much less sober and much more sweary.
Yes. See you in 25 minutes, those of you who are coming. And to those of you who want to join, you've got 25 minutes to join. And I'll put the link here one more time for you in the live chat. Last gasp, if you want to join, just so you don't complain about missing out. See you 9:30.
And to
Thanks,
all
guys.
the others, dobranoc.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Buonanotte.
See you soon. Bye.